Welcome back. My name is Ryan. We're here in Hoskins, Papua New Guinea, out in Western Britain today, heading over across the island to the other side down to Jackanaw Bay. I've never taken
TOS
there.
System test. Okay.
Anyways, I was going to cover today the 5 different elements or factors that make IFR flying here in Papua New Guinea so much different than what you're probably used to and more stressful, and it's not what you think. So let's go ahead and get started and then get into those. Batteries on, fuel pump on. It's all the way back. Low start. We're 14% once our oil pressure's coming in. We'll introduce our fuel. Down about 30 minutes ago, so it's coming up at normal rate. All right, generator on, prop, V2. Once the amps come down, we'll flip our alternator on and our auxiliary bus. We're flying to the south side of the island, which is rainy season this time of year. Here in Papua New Guinea, at least on the islands out here, we have rainy season on one side of the island half the year, and on the other side the other half. So no matter what time of year, it's crap weather.
V127.1, Alpha November Papa, departure.
All stations Hoskins, 127.1, November Tango Zulu taxiing Hoskins for Jackanaw Bay will be on climb 6,000. All stations Hoskins. Moresby 5565, November Tango Zulu taxi. November Tango Zulu taxi Hoskins, Jackanaw Bay, 1 POB. We'll try them in the air. All stations Hoskins, November Tango Zulu going to be departing on runway 12 for an east departure. All stations Hoskins. Alright, if we're not 50 knots by the 1,000-foot marker, correction 1,500 foot because we're at the 500 now. And we will abort on the runway after takeoff. Pitch for 85 knots. Consider EPL. Consider feather. Otherwise, cut off, pull off, and shut off. 80 full flaps. Masters, crack my door. Ignition condition. Flaps 20. Fuel and harnesses. And we'll get that in a minute after we take off. We're 35 degrees sea level. 1520, so 1470. Let's go. Like I said, airspeed is alive. There's our rotate by the 1,500-foot marker. We'll just give it a little bit of nose trim. Just get our nose over and get our speed up to 85 knots. Well, I was kind of hoping that there would be some weather on this flight because this morning it was forecasting it to actually have some weather on this flight for you. But it looks like it's clearing out now. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you guys about the 5 different things about Papua New Guinea that is so much different than the rest of the world with regards to IFR flying. I had someone leave a comment saying, oh, if you're just a competent IFR pilot, then IFR flying shouldn't be stressful. And you're right, it shouldn't be stressful, but PNG is very different. And it's not as like cut and dry as you're probably used to in the States or Australia or wherever else you might be. So we get on course. Let's go ahead and give our departure call if we can actually get a hold of them today. Moresby 5565, November Tango Zulu departure. Moresby 6622, November Tango Zulu. Good morning, November Tango Zulu 66222, no contact on 5565, departed Hoskins, 1 POB for Jackanaw Bay. Estimating Jackanaw Bay, time 1:05.
November Tango Zulu, traffic out single Foxtrot ATR 106, that's it. November Tango Zulu, correction, no reported traffic.
November Tango Zulu. All right, well that leads me into my very first one, and the fact that PNG does not have ATC governing their IFR like they do in other places. They don't give you vectors. I mean, when you're going into Moresby, it's very easy. The ATC, your approach tells you where to go, they tell you when to descend, they tell you how to stay away from all your other traffic. And it just makes it very easy because you're just going from here to here to here, and letting them know. That's about it. So that's the number one factor, or number one, the first one of the factors that is so much different than here. You're responsible to not hit another airplane, even though you're IFR. So their IFR rules say, like, basically that. It's basically, you are VFR, you're required not to run into another airplane, even though you might be IMC inside of a cloud. Another thing with ATC is, like in the States and stuff, they have a lot of weather reporting stuff, which they're able to update you on the weather and say, hey, if you just turn 15 degrees here, head for the next 20 miles, and you can go right around it, no dramas, right? Well, here at PNG, you look ahead, and that's your radar. You're like, well, let's see, it's a little brighter over there, so let's head that way right now. We do have a radar pod out here on this airplane. Out of the 3 Kodiaks that we have, this is the only one that has it. So the day that you are not in this airplane and you have a big storm in front of you, the only weather radar is you. It's like, you can ask maybe another airplane, but again, there's only one other airplane right now on this whole island. So, and he's heading that way. So if it was bad weather out here, well, I could either call out there and maybe get a weather report, but that's just on the ground, but not along the middle of the island where all the weather is built up from the mountains. So one of the biggest one, the number 2, the biggest reason why IFR flying in PNG is more stressful than other places is because, well, you don't have IFR routes. Well, they have IFR routes, but they're for airlines like 16,000 feet, and we can't go that high. We can, but not if there's weather, because, well, that leads me to another point, is the fact that there's icing up there. Right around 14,000 feet, we start getting into icing levels. This plane's not equipped to go through icing conditions, so we just can't fly that high. But if we're on a route, which many times the mountains are 12,000 feet, well, then you have to be at 14,000 feet if you're going to be IMC, or inside clouds, basically. So then you have like icing conditions, potentially, not always, but potentially, and there's been routes that I had to be at 14,000 feet for at least 20 minutes, no matter what. There's no other way I could go. I had to be that high, and start getting icing. Then what do? You can't descend, you can't climb, you can't really go anywhere else because it's just widespread. So anyways, these little elements that people don't really think of, they start building up stress as time goes on. So we're leveling off at 6,000. Looks like that should get us over top of what we need to. Once we're leveled off, our airspeed's up. We're going to go ahead and bring our power lever here right on back to 1,250 foot-pound of torque. Then just adjust our prop just so it's right at the 2,000 RPM. It looks like 6,000 feet should get me over there just fine. Okay, so this leads me into number 4, is the fact that the maps that we have are not congruent with each other. So we have to come up with all of our own IFR routes into all these bush locations because, well, the low in route charts that are for IFR are made up for airlines that are flying at 16,000 feet and higher, and they just don't work for us. And if we're doing a 28-minute flight, we don't want to climb up to, 16,000 feet or anything else. We just want to go at the minimum altitude that we have to so that we can have our best chance of being able to get back down underneath that cloud layer or whatever else it might be.
Once we open November Papa, go ahead.
So this route, this magenta line heading over to Jackanaw Bay, we don't actually have an IFR route. All these black lines on here are actual IFR routes that we've come up with on our own with a minimum safe. Let me get rid of that line right there for you so you can see. Yeah, so we don't even have a thing here. So what I want to show you is right here, it says my highest mountain is 3,900 feet along this route, which I'm going to be basically just going directly right through there. So this is our WAC chart. So if we bring up another VFR chart that we do have, zoom into the exact same area. Let's see, whoops, didn't come up right. Right, so let's zoom into the exact same area, and yeah, you can see that it now says 6,234 feet, not 3,900 feet. So I don't even know if it is actually at 6,200 feet right here or not, or if it's at 3,900 feet. So those are the only 2 charts that we have, and they're not congruent. So if I only had the other one, or if I only went off of the other one at 3,900 feet and I'm flying at 6,000 feet, then I'm like, oh man, I'm clear. I'm going to be no problems whatsoever. But if this chart is correct and it is actually 6,200 feet, well, then I would crash and die into a mountain and just think that I'm all hunky-dory and I'm going to make it clear. There actually is some clouds at my level straight ahead, so I can head off to the right and go around if I don't want to climb up to 8,000. But that's very stressful when you are the only pilot, and that leads me to number 5, is the fact that we're single pilot. And you can have all of the safety nets in play as a single pilot, but you are human and you make mistakes. I mean, I make mistakes all the time. And hopefully I'll never make a mistake as dire as this one right here, just because, I mean, you're out by yourself. If you are dealing with a lot of weather and you're working it really hard and there's storms everywhere and you're trying to get back to wherever you need to get back to, you might easily forget to go, oh, you know what, there's another chart here that I should probably look at to see if it is actually at 6,000. And looking directly ahead of me, it looks like it is at the 6,000, not at the 3,900 feet. And interesting enough, we actually, back in like the early 90s, we actually had a pilot that crashed and died in this exact same area out here. I don't exactly know where it is. I think it's just on the other side, somewhere in here, but it is in this, almost like this direct area, these mountains. So, who knows, maybe he even made the same mistake. I have no idea. It's been so long, I was a kid when that happened, but I mean, yeah, people can make mistakes so easy, and when you have all these other elements and stress added into it, your decision making typically goes down because your workload goes up. I am curious right on this direct track, so I'm just going to go ahead and climb up because I'm really curious to know if there actually is mountains at this level right here, and it looks like, I mean, it looks like there is. As we're heading over top of this little bit of cloud right here, kind of brings me back to my other element of number 2, is just the fact that we don't have any way to really get great weather here. What we use here for our weather reporting, I'll throw up a screenshot of what we actually use. We use a windy app, and to be honest, there's really not that much you can look at. Alright, looking directly ahead of me, that mountain, that's the mountain that says it's at 3,900 feet. That's clearly not at 3,900 feet. That's got to be closer to 6,000, because I'm at almost 6,420 feet. And that's closer to that 6,200 feet that the other chart actually showed. So if I went here at 3,900 feet and did my little route without looking at the other one, and it was IMC conditions, I'd smack right into that mountain right there. So I actually need to go and change this chart because this is the one that we use typically, is this one, because it has easier detail to read. Anyways, we use the windy app. This is my screenshot of the weather when I left Hoskins. So, you know, I've got some kind of rain all down in that area potentially. I had some rain about 20 miles to the north of Hoskins leaving there. And then looking at my forecast, which is all I have, is this. So basically I left Hoskins over to Jackanaw Bay. It looks like there's going to be a bunch of, that blue stuff is just clouds, which is what all this is indicating, which is spot on. It's a lot clearer out there, and that's exactly what it's showing here. So blue is usually just typically like scattered clouds, maybe potentially broken clouds. And then all those lightning strikes over by Biala and the green, that typically means there's going to be some rain over there, especially if it's green. Now looking down here at my thing, I'm basically 200 feet over and it's yellow, which would also indicate, yellow means you're within 100 feet up to 1,000 feet of that terrain. So I'm within 1,000 feet. So yeah, I can see the trees right down below me. So 3,900 feet, I would have smacked and killed myself in a heartbeat. Then, heading back over to Hoskins, it looks like all of that area that's all clear will probably fill in with a bunch more scattered clouds as I head back. So that's all we have for weather reporting. We don't have anything unless maybe there's somebody on the ground where we can call out here and say, hey, what's it look like? And they can say, well, right now, but you'll be here in 30 minutes, and it can completely change in the next 30 minutes. So you could fly all the way out here, be beautiful in Hoskins, turns to crap, you can't land, you head back to Hoskins, and in 30 minutes, I mean it's an hour flight, it could turn to crap in Hoskins. They have an approach, but if you can't land there, there's been some days that it's just been torrential downpour for 3-4 hours straight. It's so thick, maybe like a half a mile visibility kind of thing. So it looks great in Jackanaw Bay. Wow, that's beautiful down there. Next time, I'm definitely going to have to take you guys down that. I've never flown down that. That looks spectacular. After this video, if you're still thinking that IFR and PNG is the same as anywhere else in the world, clearly you missed what I was saying. It's definitely not. There's so many extra elements, and the biggest one is you're out here by yourself, you're making all the decisions, ATC is not there to help you. You are the only one that's going to keep you alive. And if you make a stupid mistake by looking at the wrong chart, well, then you could crash and die. Or you fly yourself into a storm. There was actually back in the 90s, there was a, what was it, an Islander, a little twin-engine piston plane that was carrying, I don't know, like 6 passengers. He was not IFR rated, so I don't know the whole story behind everything. He was not IFR rated. He did fly into one of the tropical storms that we have here, and he ripped his wings off. Now, he might have oversped his plane, he might have, you know, pulled too many G's on it, ripped his wings off. I don't know the whole story. I don't think anybody knows the whole story, but the storms here are pretty violent, and if all the big airlines are diverting to go around them, well, then that's probably a clear indication that maybe a plane that's like a fifth or a sixth of the size of them should probably maybe divert around them as much as I can. I've never been on this side of the island really, because we don't have any places that we go out here. And it's really cool to see just how rugged the terrain is over here, as opposed to just the other side, just another 20-40 miles on the other side. All stations, Jackanaw Bay, November Tango Zulu, 11 miles to the west, passing 4,200 on descent. Circuit time, Jackanaw Bay, 13. Okay, here's the airstrip chart for Jackanaw Bay. Elevation is 200 feet, so we're going to put it all the way down to 1,200 feet. It's a 1% slope that just slowly goes up the hill. And yeah, you can land either way. I've landed both ways here. The winds are coming off this way, so we'll just enter into a left downwind for runway 34. That'll be the easiest. Selectors and brakes, our TAWs will turn off. Our VREF, we're completely empty, so 5,500, so 64 knots. We'll throw our landing light on. All stations, Jackanaw Bay. November Tango Zulu will be joining left downwind runway 34, Jackanaw Bay. Orsby 6622, November Tango Zulu in the circuit, Jackanaw Bay. Cancel SAR. November Tango Zulu, thanks. Our OBS, turn to runway, what did I say, 34 and 16. There's autopilot off, SAR is done. We're reducing our power, that'll slow us down so that we can put our engine into bypass. Alright, joining into a left downwind. All stations, Jackanaw Bay, November Tango Zulu joining left downwind, 34, Jackanaw Bay. Need to go around, it's power up, 20 degrees of flaps, pitch for 73 knots, maneuvers required to reset our IGT to 740. Top end harness is done. Flaps to go, there's 10 degrees of flaps, below 138 knots. I don't see any other airplanes out here. Full sprinkles, but man, what a beautiful day. There's 20 degrees of flaps, below 120 knots. Push the nose over as it wants to jump up when you put the flaps in. A little bit high. I'd like to be turning my ace at 900 feet. You know what? I can just land partway down the runway because, yeah, let's just turn now. It's a really long runway. talking all about that single pilot stuff. If you are a single pilot and you want one of these, I've got them on our website. These are a great tool to keep yourself safe and not forget critical items on takeoff and landing. I've got a video on my website explaining all about exactly what it is, if you guys want to check that out. Alright, full flaps checklist is complete. I know they're all down, so I know that I've covered them all. Not forgetting something like, you know, a gear switch or something like that. It looks like it's just like a little tiny dirt road right down the middle. Just land probably, I don't know, a third of the way in, just because it's so long. I don't have to use my reverse or anything like that, just so I'm not picking up rocks and chipping up my prop as I went to reverse. 5 knots, ahead 1.
500.
Oh, that's quite the view. Feel that smoke out there? Give this video a thumbs up if you agree with that. We've got quite a bit of rain out here. A little idle. I don't even go into reverse or beta. Anyways, this is Jackanaut Bay. First time for you guys, maybe third time for me at most. If you guys did enjoy that video, I know I was kind of rambling a lot, but hopefully you guys got a better picture of exactly what it is that we do here and the decisions that we have to make. Flying IFR in the mountains and just dealing with all the other elements that most people don't even think about having to ever deal with because you've never actually had to deal with them. So give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It really does help my channel grow with the algorithm, pushes it to new viewers, and consider subscribing if you're not already. It is free. All you have to do is hit that little red button and you're subscribed, and then you get notified if you hit the notification bell whenever I put out videos, which is every Sunday and Thursdays. All right, guys. See you next time. Have a great one.